What happens to the Irish border after Brexit? Brexit paper on Ireland revealed. Brexit will not lead to the resurrection of border posts between Ireland and Northern Ireland, the British government has vowed. But what will happen to the Irish border after the UK leaves the EU? The Department for Exiting the European Union's DECU's new position paper rules out border posts and other physical infrastructure along the border on the island of Ireland. The paper, published at noon, also put forward proposals on avoiding a hard border on the movement of goods between Ireland in the EU and Northern Ireland in the UK. It dismissed the controversial idea of moving the UK-EU customs border to the Irish Sea as not constitutionally or economically viable. DECU confirmed that the common travel area will mean there are no immigration checks and passport controls for UK and Irish citizens travelling across the Irish border. Secretary of State for Northern Ireland James Brookshier said, "The paper provides flexible and imaginative ideas and demonstrates our desire to find a practical solution that recognises the unique economic, social and cultural context of the land border with Ireland, without creating any new obstacles to trade within the UK." Irish Foreign Minister Simon Coveney welcomed the principles and sentiment behind the new paper, but said, "What we don't have though is the detail of how it is going to work." He said, "There are still significant questions that are unanswered in terms of how we are going to manage and maintain as close as possible the status quo on the island of Ireland in terms of the free movement of goods and services." After Brexit, the Irish border will become the only land border between the EU and the UK. Britain therefore faces the complex challenge of how to carry out immigration, security and customs checks. Dr. Simon Sherwood, a fellow at the UK in a Changing Europe and a reader in politics at the University of Surrey, said the new paper does give him a clearer idea how the Irish border will actually work after Brexit. He said, "Much talk of keeping an open border and using technology, but none of this really squares with other statements on wanting to take UK out of customs union or single market. The border isn't only about customs checks, but also about free movement, regulatory standards, for example in food, and many other aspects of the UK's future relationship with the EU. The position set out here isn't so far from the EU's, or the Irish, but there's very little on how to actually achieve this in practice, or how to square it with the rest of the Article 50 deal. At best, it signals the willingness of London to work on this, but it doesn't propose a way forward." He added, "Everyone knows this is an important and complex issue, but no one seems to know how to solve it. Whoever comes up with a worked proposal is going to be in a very strong position to set the agenda. But we still await that moment." With some 30,000 people crossing the 500 kilometers border every day, negotiators must work out how to tighten controls without inflaming tensions in a region that suffered decades of bloody turmoil before a peace deal in 1998. Ireland had previously dismissed Britain's proposal to use technology and CCTV on the border as unworkable. Senator Mark Daly, deputy leader of Ireland's opposition Fianna Fáil party, said the proposals for a frictionless border appeared more like fiction, and clueless on this island. "It will be a smuggler's charter," he told BBC Radio 4 this morning. The government's paper on post-Brexit customs arrangements suggested either having no customs border or introducing highly streamlined customs checks. Those ideas met with skepticism among some of Britain's current EU partners, with one EU official describing the idea of an invisible border as fantasy. Brexit Secretary David Davis said, "The UK and Ireland have been clear all along that we need to prioritise protecting the Belfast Agreement in these negotiations, and ensure the land border is as seamless as possible for people and businesses. The proposals we outline in this paper do exactly that, and we're looking forward to seeing the EU's Position paper on the Northern Ireland border in committing to keep the common travel area, which has existed for nearly a century. We are making sure UK and Irish citizens will continue to be able to travel, live, work and study across both countries. After Brexit, the people of Northern Ireland will continue to have, as set out in the Belfast Agreement, a birthright to both Irish and British citizenship. Avoiding a hard border between Ireland and Northern Ireland is one of the EU's top priorities during the first round of Brexit talks. The European Council has stressed the importance of protecting the peace and reconciliation process under the Good Friday Agreement. Here is a look at key quotes from the Brexit paper. Some commentators have proposed that the UK should impose a customs border between Northern Ireland and Great Britain following our exit from the EU. The UK has been clear that avoiding a return to a hard border between Northern Ireland and Ireland is one of our top priorities. But the answer as to how to achieve this cannot be to impose a customs border between Northern Ireland and Great Britain. There would need to be a robust enforcement mechanism that ensured goods which had not complied with the EU's trade policy stayed in the UK. This could involve, for instance, a tracking mechanism, where imports to the UK were tracked until they reached an end user, or a repayment mechanism, where imports to the UK paid whichever was the higher of the UK's or the EU's tariff rates and traders claimed a refund for the difference between the two rates when the goods were sold to an end user in the country charging lower tariffs. As with other businesses in the UK, traders in Northern Ireland would need to be able to track goods or pass the ability to claim a repayment along their supply chain in order to benefit from tariff differences between the UK and the EU for rest of the world goods. Thanks for watching. Please like, share and don't forget to subscribe English News Hub for new excited videos.